it's a rough number of whether or not you're going to roll off. And there was early belief that this was going to put, and we'll just jump into the generative AI, it was going to put people out of work. Surprise, surprise, AI comes up again. There was a belief that this was going to really put a lot of architects, quote unquote, out of business, et cetera. I don't actually think that was the case or the approach.
It was interesting because early days, originally our two co-founders had come up with more of a black box solution. Like you put in what you want and it spits something out. But what I think was one of the, big successes of TestFit, both in the early days and today, was constantly bringing it back to clients and to prospects and saying, what about this? What about this? What about this? What do you think? And the biggest bit of feedback we had was they wanted the ability to manipulate what was being spit out. They often have an idea in their head of what could work, but they want to see if the numbers pencil. And if it doesn't, then they want to see different options. They want to be able to cycle through different options. So it's not a black box that it goes into and that's what you get. You can play with your inputs to get different outputs, but you can also, move easements and, do manual work around it as well.
We talk about this all the time. That speed to decision making, that speed to getting it done is what keeps projects on track.
Especially this early, like our chief revenue officer, Kyle Bernhardt, likes to say, if the ink is dry on the deal, that's usually post TestFit. It's while we're still trying to figure out if this deal is possible or not. And for real estate developers, the ability to move fast on the site is the difference between getting it or not getting it.
That's actually what I was going to jump into is, even people on the real estate side, they were built for that due diligence period, right? Hey, we've gotten this lease. They agreed. We have 90 days. And it's like, go time. We got to go. We got to figure out everything we can before we actually agree. And it's like now 50% of that can be done even just looking at a site, not even having to go in and start negotiations. But can this be done? Is this more possible? You said right of ways and stuff. Is there more county information coming in and GIS information coming in? Is there something that actually ties to that?
So we do have some underlay right now coming up very, very soon. To be dropping mid-July, I believe is the latest estimate. With regards to zoning and things like that, because it is so different area to area, it is something that you're manually inputting. So you put in the parameters that you want, you're establishing those. So again, going back to, is this replacing an architect? No, it's not. It needs someone who has that knowledge of local county code. We're constantly looking for partners we could potentially do an API with when it comes to zoning, and there's some really interesting ones coming up. So that's not the be all and end all right now. We're always looking for who else is trying to tackle that epic problem, because as we all know, zoning contributes to a lot of our affordable housing issues.
And that is a lot of the holdup, right? So it takes something from a county government standpoint. A project takes years because there's so much red tape, and that zoning is a big part of it. So if that was able to get over the hump, that's pretty good. On top of that, I think you guys have done a great job with integrations, because I'm playing around with Autodesk Forma yesterday, and there's only 2 integrations set up so far for Autodesk Forma, which is, it's their new end all be all product that supposedly the next 5 years we're all going to be on Forma. So is that something that you guys just rolled out? Has this been in the works for a while? What is that going on there?
Yeah, that was part of the formal official launch, I'm really proud to say. Really interesting article actually came out today by Martin Day on where Forma is at and where it's going. Definitely recommend you guys have a read of it. Because on the surface, you think, okay, it's SpaceMaker reskinned, and it's got a little bit of an ecosystem. Well, that's cool. There's a lot more going on behind from a data point of view. What's really interesting is it seems like it's going to allow a lot more interoperability from Autodesk, which is something, I don't think we've seen much of in the past. We've heard more about recently, and now this is putting the proof in the pudding. They're talking about, ways to run Rhino through that and whatnot. And they see the advantage of being at the center of an ecosystem, but an ecosystem that goes outside of itself, which is, I think, an awesome thing for the industry.
It's the anti-Revit. I mean, they basically built Revit as this, we're going to contain everything into this program. You're going to come into this program to use it. And everybody complained. I mean, then we ended up with IFC, and then the industry started falling apart. But this is kind of cool seeing what it is. But I like the idea that they have engaged, or were engaged by you guys, industry partners to start doing this with them and not just build the tool themselves, not just do it themselves, but start becoming the ecosystem.
That's it. And, this has been in the works for a long time under different guises from Autodesk. They've been doing this long game to get this data infrastructure in place. And yes, it's not Revit 2.0 yet, but this data infrastructure behind it is going to allow people to do so much more. And it's pretty cool to see the vision that they've got there.
You're hitting on a couple of things there too. Waste kept coming to mind as you talk about not only what you guys are doing, but now as I'm listening to you talk about the zoning rules and the barriers to affordable housing, I'm thinking, what does a plot, whether there's something on it or not, become if we don't get through those hurdles? 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, either it's nothing, right? It just sits there and continues to be nothing, or unfortunately, it goes down the road to something else that we probably, let's be honest, didn't need, whereas we need affordable housing. So I'm wondering, where TestFit stands on tackling waste and looking at waste. Where, I think it's been a key component to what we're all doing. Yeah,
it's an interesting way to look at it, and I'm not sure that I've ever thought of it precisely that way. But I suppose the waste of opportunity for a space to become something, especially to become someone's home. We are in an affordable housing crisis, and we have interesting case studies. We have one particularly with an affordable housing developer where they were targeting, around rapid transit areas tends to be spots where there's specific zoning for affordable housing. And using TestFit, he was able to compare quite a few different sites, and they needed to have a certain rating on like walkability and affordability and all of these different criteria. And he was able to get a Department of Transit grant twice as fast as he normally would have been able to. So waste of time is the other big one. And don't underestimate it. GCs are doing it too. Everyone is doing the work for free in the hope of getting the work on the end. So if you're going to do work for free, why do you A, make sure, you're not going to spend a ton of time on it, and B, not going to lose your shirt on it.
Yeah.
You're going to win it.
Yeah, and you're going to win the job. I mean,
you're working with the real estate developer. When you're that early in the process, you are bought in. When you're hearing them say, I need this unit mix or it's not going to work because of X, Y, Z, you're like, oh, I understand. Maybe we could switch that corner unit into a this and we could do that. Now you're a part of the deal team. You're not someone down the line.
You're 100% competent. Yeah, I mean, and the way they look back at you at the relationship is, wow, they know what they're doing. Let's keep working with them.